You had a debate the other day with, I believe his name is Rudy.
Rudy Rochman. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a debate like about the annexation issue and the Palestinian-Israeli issue in general.
Hmm.
So he's an Israeli young man, probably same generation as us. So I wanted to ask you how confident are you in the new generation of Israeli people, and do you think there's any chance of peace between the new generations as they grow older into power?
Yeah, yeah. هلا I have a bit of a problem with using the term peace when we like to say, peace is the end goal. For me, peace represents a period in time, right, where two people aren't fighting. What's more important, and this is what something that me and Rudy agree on, is justice. And this is for Palestinians, justice is very, very important. We feel like we've been done wrong so many times. فإحنا we have some set of demands that people kind of agree on, which is number one, the right of return for Palestinian refugees. Number two, I mean, this is divisive amongst the Palestinian community, but like, sovereignty amongst our own borders within the 67 lines, something that I personally am not for. But in terms of having faith, within Israel itself, the younger generation is more right wing these days, and there's some factors to that. Number one, they've grown up during the second Intifada, which was a pretty violent uprising. And they've also grown up in a time where there's been a security border that's been, or they call it a security border, we call it the apartheid wall, that's been set up. And literally, blocks Palestinians and Israelis from interacting. So you have Israelis that have never interacted with a Palestinian before, and all they hear about Palestinians, they hear it in the media, which is obviously biased, and then they hear about the rockets that are being fired in, and so it's easy to understand. And I always say this, like trying to understand why someone thinks a certain way, even though you don't agree with it, I think is very important. And you kind of start to realize, these Israelis that have grown up, and now most of them are in the army, right? So it's easy to understand how they can be fed this narrative of it's us versus them. They're trying to kill us all, and that's something that we're trying to change, and that's something that me and Rudy agree on, right? Rudy will one thing that we do agree on, because we disagree on a lot of things, but one thing that I think is fundamentally very important for us to realize, he acknowledges Palestinian suffering, and he acknowledges Israel's role in that suffering. He doesn't, obviously, he doesn't pretend to be a referee and he's in the middle. No, he's very on the Israeli side. But however, it's I think it's important to, I was saying this in our debate, it's important to listen to each other and to start to kind of understand our own struggles and to humanize the other side. And I think with social media, our generation, I do have faith for the future. I think that there is a movement that's kind of brewing up right now, especially with Black Lives Matter. You see the potential that these kinds of movements can have, and now with social media, it's just amplified, and you can reach so many new people so easily. But that's why I like to talk and I like to give my viewpoint, because a lot of the times people have never heard an Israeli say that, yeah, you know what, or not just an Israeli, but like a Zionist that says, we have done you guys wrong and you guys deserve justice. And I think it's important because I grew up never really interacting with Israelis, and you paint a picture without ever meeting them, without understanding why they think the way that they think. I do think it's important to try and sort of build a bridge while acknowledging that there is a very, very big power disparity, right? There's a massive, because it's an oppressive force and an oppressed force. But it's not, that's my problem with peace. Peace is just like, خلاص خلينا نقعد وناكل حمص مع بعض. Like that's what a lot of peace organizations try to do. It's just like cover the thing, and it's like, okay, now let's just be friends. That's not how it works. I think that peace, you need justice before you have peace. There's a very famous chant that says, no justice, no peace. We need justice, and we've been wronged so many times. And what's crazy is that when you here's my thing: when you attack someone personally, they're very likely to not listen to you and to double down on their own beliefs. which is why I believe, even though you talk to a person and you're like, oh my God, how do they think that? For me, what I like to do is not to attack them personally, because once you attack someone personally, instinctively as human beings, we kind of shut off and we become defensive. And I really like to try and understand where people are coming from and then to give my own narrative. And I found it to be very successful in the sense that people understood, like, Anna, Santa Barbara, there's a very big Jewish community and Israeli community. And the responses I've gotten to some of, the things that I've said, and I talk about, مثلا, Gaza in 2014, لما قتلوا 500 طفل, and there was 1,600 civilian deaths, I think. I'm not sure of the numbers. It's really important to humanize that, because people don't hear about it, and especially in America, people are so oblivious to the struggles and sufferings of Palestinians. That's what I think we need to bring to light, is the suffering. But people have different ways to be activists, and I think I've chosen the path of trying to build a bridge, because I realize that the future, there is no future without Israelis in this land, and there is no future without Palestinians in this land. Because I think that what a lot of people have grown up to believe is that we can kick these people out. وترجع فلسطين. And I don't believe in that. I don't believe that someone that was born there and their parents were born there, I don't see why we should kick those people out, even though, yes, they're probably living in someone's house. I think we need to think of a future that can work for all of us. Yeah.